I asked you kind of that sort of that easy question about, what's your one of your easier deals. Can you talk about one of your most challenging deals, and then what made that so challenging, and then how you overcame it, if you did overcome it?
Yeah, okay. So they were kind of hand in hand. So I there was a park that I drove through, and I have a good relationship with the park managers there. And I remember there being a sign in the window, and he wanted to sell. It was a three-bedroom, two bath. It was a nice single wide. It was in a corner lot. It had the biggest yard in the whole park. And I called him up on the phone, and he said he wanted 10,000. I was like, that was his opening offer. I was like, this is going to be a slam dunk. And so I set up an appointment, and when I called to follow up, like, hey, it's Friday, we're supposed to meet on Saturday, it just went to voicemail, voicemail, voicemail. So I could never get a hold of him. And I tried some follow up and never got a hold of him again. Well, then about 6 months later, I get a call to my phone, and it's the guy. And he's like, I wasn't ready to sell then. I thought I was, but I'm ready to sell now. So I ended up buying the home for 7,000. Uh, and well, what happened with that is that when I bought that home, that's when another one came up that the park, the managers told me about. It used to be the off. It was like a mobile home and a half, if you know what I mean. I mean, it was a huge single wide, and it used to be the office for the mobile home park, but they had moved their offices, built an office somewhere else, and so now they were selling that mobile home, and it was really nice. I mean, it had nice flooring. They had rented it out, and the people that were there really trashed it, but I mean, I could see what it would look like if you just did some repairs.
It already
Uh,
had the kitchen, and it wasn't like just completely gutted to be an office. It was
no, no,
okay.
no, no. Yeah, it just needed some, again, paint, flooring, and cleaning, and really that's about it. And so I ended up buying that one for 10,000. So now I had two mobile homes at the same time, and that is where it got a little bit tricky because I was dealing with those contractor issues. This is where I was dealing with those contractors where they were bickering with one another, that they would call me, they would call my wife, and they would complain on each other, and we kind of had to, and just because we didn't have a good system in place on how to manage this, it to get the rehabs done took a lot longer than expected. I mean, this was a job that people had come in and said, hey, week tops, and it took a little bit over a month. And it was just the stress of having to manage the contractors. But the way we got over it is we just put one foot in front of the other, and we just kept seeing the light at the end of the tunnel, and we were like, hey, we just got to get it complete. And once we do that, we can move on, find some different contractors, not make the same mistakes, and that's it.
So you stuck with those two characters, and then was it? I mean, they couldn't have been at the property every day of the week. They were just there when they could get there.
Yeah, well, so on one of the homes, they so that was the thing is that me with my day job, I couldn't come and check on them, and so there were some days where they weren't showing up, and they should have been there. There were other days where they're just kind of like in that movie Office Space. He's like showing up to work, but he's only really working 30 minutes, in the day. Uh, so it
You
was kind of
pay.
like that.
Sorry, I'm sorry. You
Yeah,
pay
go ahead. Go ahead.
per what per the job. You're not paying per
For the
hour. Or,
job,
okay.
not per hour. This one, I had him walk through it, give me a quote, um, and we did it that way. So we just stuck with it, and it went through the frustration of, but we knew that eventually it would get done, and we bought. And I guess that was the other good thing is that if you make money when you buy, right? So we knew that no matter what, we were going to make money on this at the end of the day because we had bought at such good prices. We knew what the market was. So even if little things came up here and there, like for instance, I on one of the homes, I didn't do good due diligence, and I learned from that. I walked through the home. This was the one that the park manager sold me, and it was in the wintertime. So I turned on the heater. The heater's blowing nice and warm. I never thought to check the AC, right? I'm a newbie at this. Well, come to find out, the AC didn't work.
Even
And
if you've
so
tested it, it may not have. You may not have been able to figure that out if it's just blowing cold outside air anyway.
that's true.
Uh,
Yeah. And someone like me, I am not, I know my strengths and I know my weaknesses and I'm not mechanically inclined.
this
So,
so the seller lied to you, or the
you know,
manager lied to
they,
you?
they, they didn't lie. It had been sitting there. And I don't think they themselves really knew. So I remember calling you on that one. I was like, what do I do? And uh, uh, the park manager referred me to a guy that does their AC stuff. And he came out there and he quoted me $4,000. And I was like, oh my God, this is gonna turn into like a $19,000 investment. Terrible. Um, so uh, one of the good things is one of my contractors that I was having problems with it, he's a good like heart of gold, super good guy, and I would give him work today, but I just know what type of work I can give him now, because what he was telling me he could handle and what he could actually handle are two different things. So I remember going. He did something that was very good. I said. I reached out to him and I said, look, I hired you because I know you're a problem solver. Now we got this broken AC and I need you to solve this problem. And he's like, Mr. Mo, I'm going to take care of this for you. So he calls me back in about an hour and he finds this guy that actually is a certified AC repairman for a big apartment complex in San Marcos. His name's Joseph, and I can't remember his last name. Met Joseph, fantastic, wonderful individual. Uh, and he says he'll get out there and he'll look at it and give me a quote. Meanwhile, the other AC guy that quoted me 4,000 calls me back and he says, now that I'm looking at it, the outside unit is great. It's the inside unit. If you hire me, I'll do it for 2,000. And I was like, man, that's still kind of high. Let me get another bid on it. Well, Joseph comes back, does the whole thing for like $900, and it was beautiful, beautiful. So,
Do you remember what the issue was?
it was no, I don't. It's something with the so there's the unit on the outside, and then they have the unit on the inside. The unit on the inside needed to be replaced, but because he was like their head technician at this apartment complex, he had contacts. Um, so he was able to get very good deals, and he didn't really charge me a lot for well, in comparison to what I was being quoted by the other guy.
It's so great to have those other quotes, especially when it comes to AC and a few other issues. People, getting your first. That's happened to me and first and second hand experience a number of times where the first quote we get is $5,000, $7,000, and then as you're talking to more people, other options open up, and then there's these other alternatives, and I don't got to replace the entire system. Great job finding that for 900 and getting it working, and then selling a product that is nice and safe and livable, and the buyer can be
Absolutely.
happy with.
Absolutely. And I think that goes back to what we were talking about a little bit before in terms of branding and reputation. Um, so yeah.
Did you talk going back to the contractors and the handyman? What systems were you lacking at the time, and then what did you implement that you sort of made this more streamlined, or what will you do or won't you do that?
Yeah, so I basically hired one guy to do everything because I thought in the beginning that it would be easier to manage if I was just working through one guy. And now I have, one guy that I vetted that I know he does really good flooring and I'm not going to have any problems with it. I have another guy who's fantastic at painting and he gives me a really good deal. And so and then I use one other person that just does the deep clean of the home.